We are in Atlanta, Georgia for the Black Menswear Dapper Conversation Atlanta edition. Yeah, I'm super excited to the guests that I have with me today. Y'all know as we travel and we go to these different cities, you know, you get a different flavor and a different vibe from each one. But one thing that you get though is the fact that black men, wherever we go, are trying to put us on a level of excellence, and we really want to highlight that. So again, you guys are in for a treat today for the Black Menswear Dapper Conversations Atlanta edition. I already know Atlanta gonna come with its own little sauce, you know, just because Atlanta is Atlanta. Somewhat. Right, so if y'all don't know, I gotta introduce my guest that we have on today's panel. First and foremost, directly to my left, Dr. Jamal Bryant, pastor of the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church here in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm Pastor Jamal Bryant, the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia, where we're committed to not just the sanctuary, but the street corner.
We've got John Rose, John Rose, Esquire, of Fox Rothschild.
John Rose, I'm a sports and entertainment attorney based here in Atlanta, Georgia. I work for Fox Rothschild, that's the 9 to 5, I guess, but I try to wear various hats. I also am a label executive for a company called Collective Gallery.
We've got my brother Kirk Brown of the Ron Clark Academy here in Atlanta, Georgia.
My name is Kirk Brown, Chief Development Officer for the Ron Clark Academy, highly acclaimed nonprofit middle school here in Atlanta. I get to do the partnerships, the fundraising, and to tell the folks about the great work that we're doing so that they can invest in our children and in the youth.
And gentlemen, I appreciate y'all being on. Again, I gave a subtle introduction of their names and who they are, but would you please introduce yourself to our audience? And the first question I'm gonna ask each of you to go down, as you tell them who you are, let them know when you found out about this thing called black menswear. Dr. Brown, Jamal.
We're going to start at the academy.
Oh, go ahead.
We're going to start at the academy.
Educator.
Oh, Lord.
Teach us.
Teach us.
Show us how to do it.
Oh, man. Well, my name is Kirk Brown, as NeAndre mentioned, Chief Development Officer for the Ron Clark Academy, highly acclaimed nonprofit middle school here in Atlanta. So I get to do the partnerships, the fundraising, and to tell the folks about the great work that we're doing so that they can invest in our children and in the youth. And then we also train educators so that they can do the things that we're doing and impact the kids in their schools. So I love it, love what I do, love to impact the community. And man, I mean, who doesn't know about black menswear? I think, who doesn't know about black menswear? I mean, if you're on Instagram, if you're into style and fashion and just looking your best, then of course you know about it. And so of course I stumbled upon it on the gram, of course, and been a fan ever since. So I appreciate the invitation, my brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Okay, well, I think I have to follow up after that. John Rose, I'm a sports and entertainment attorney based here in Atlanta, Georgia. I work for Fox Rothschild, that's the 9 to 5, I guess, but I try to wear various hats. I also am a label executive for a company called Collective Gallery, where we help black creatives, diverse creatives, just work with their biggest artists and just try to fulfill their dreams. And I have a nonprofit organization here in Atlanta, Georgia called Sade's Hope, where we combat against teen dating violence. Actually, it's one of your members of your church. Her name is Antonia Acevedo. So so she actually works with me at my law firm. But that's many of the things that I do. I first heard about black menswear when I was, I guess, trying to get into my bag, I guess, for lack of better words. You know, I was on Instagram trying to look up some profiles or some platforms that was exuding black excellence and trying to pick up some things, and I came across the platform and it spoke volumes to me. I resonated with it. So, excited to be here, excited to share this energy with you all, and I think it's going to be an amazing night and an amazing discussion.
I appreciate it.
I'm Pastor Jamal Bryant, the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia, where we're committed to not just the sanctuary, but the street corner, a call to social justice and spirituality, realizing that our congregation has got to do community engagement. I first learned about black menswear with an attitude because they had a flash mob in D.C. and I wasn't invited. And I saw all of my friends coming down the steps and nobody called me. Ooh. So I started calling all of them, trying to figure out what happened. And so that was my introduction. So today is a healing day for black men to try to get along and make it work. The Bloods have met the Crips right on the couch. So it's exciting. Glad to be here.
No, and I thank all three of you gentlemen for coming. And again, the beautiful thing about this is we all have different perspectives, right? But the one underlying thing that we all value is the black male excellence, right? My question to open up from that realm of conversation is, what does black excellence mean to you specifically? And then how are you playing your part within that? And I'll start with you, Mr. Kirk.
Oh, me. So that's an interesting question. I think black excellence is doing what we're doing right now every single day, and just showing up who we are and being proud in that and celebrating that. As a culture, of course, we've been oppressed, and when we are doing great things, it's good to elevate ourselves and to celebrate that and let folks know that we're here, we're contributing to the culture, contributing to the greatness that you see in this country. And so any ways that we can do that, I think is impactful and it's empowering. For me, showing up, how do I show up and celebrate black excellence? I think for me, I'm a co-founder of the Emerging 100, which is the young professional auxiliary of the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. And so we're all about black excellence as young black men, sharing the culture, giving back, mentoring the youth, showing them, what they see is what they can be. And so providing access and opportunity for them, I think that's an example of sort of how I show up and play my part in that. And then letting folks know that they can be a part of it as well, right? I think that's one of the ways. Of course, the more that we can do together collectively, the better. But we all can play our individual parts.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
I spoke on a panel discussion recently about this, and they asked me the same question. For me, it means to triumph. It's this right here, as you just spoke about, this energy, sharing that space, that ever relentless push through to push through those obstacles and those just the situations that we were born in. Quite frankly, I think a lot of people think of black excellence as being this sort of stature that we have to reach, this sort of influence or money that we have to gain to be in this realm of black excellence. I think we associate a lot of black excellence, at least in the community that I was raised in Jamaica, Queens, with our athletes and our entertainers, and that's nothing wrong with that. I think they are great, and they are of black excellence. But I think at its smallest, it's making your community proud. Like looking like how we look, being in this skin, and making your community proud. So I don't think it has a age limit on it. I don't think it has a time frame. I think it's historic. I think it's real. I think it's that high school kid that graduates from school that makes his family proud, that 5-year-old who gets their first A or they learn how to write, that makes their mother and father proud. That is black excellence, right? And celebrating that moment up until, as far as you can go with, we did it, Miss Harris, Kamala Harris, who is now our first, vice president, right, of color, of woman. So I was proud at that moment. I got chills seeing that, the founding foundation and those blocks that's been built. So for me, black excellence is just making your community proud. And I think that I do that every single day when I wake up. And I understand what my why is, being the first in my family to go to school, being the first in my family, obviously becoming an attorney, and just first Jamaican, descent, making my family proud, and just being of service to my community. That's what leaders have to do. Biggest obligation to be of service to their community. So that's black excellence for me. So everybody out there, continue to just make your community proud, share that energy, watch your energy. You are excellently black. You are black excellence. So, yeah.
Jamaican too, bro. I'm Jamaican as well.
Well,
Not much. You don't know.
I've been to Jamaica.
And had a good time too, I'm sure.
Good food too.
Black excellence historically comes out of the Harlem Renaissance, where it was a culture of excellence, having black business, black thought leaders, the black church, and it was the incubator for black culture, of having fashion, style, food, and understanding the power through Marcus Garvey of the diaspora. At Morehouse, they taught us that to be a man of excellence, you've got to be well-read, well-traveled, well-dressed, well-spoken, and well-behaved. And I think black excellence is all of those.
I love that again the variations of that. I think the focus, for all of us really when it comes to that concept of black excellence is that everybody calculates it differently, right? Everybody measures it differently, and if the way that you measure it, like you say, brings excitement to your family and to your friends and those see around you. Like I always look at it from the perspective of, am I doing something that makes those around me better, right? Am I strengthening them up to where they look at me as an opportunity to say, okay, Dre did it, shoot, I can do it too. Having that, and it opens up their eyes and their pathway, which comes back to what we started Black Menswear for, right? To truly talk about just open up that opportunity, right? And showing people that there is an opportunity. We've had a black person that's a president and a VP. Yeah. Right. Now you can't tell me nothing that you can't. Oh, I can't. Yes, you can. Male or female, right? Because it's been done now. And so I think, I kind of always alluded to not just what you're doing for yourself to be excellent, but then what you're doing to impact those others around you. So that way you show them you can do it. You be more opportunistic about ourselves and more optimistic, about ourselves and continuing to strive forward in that. Now, you brought up a good point about the Harlem Renaissance, right? So from what I gather about this city called Atlanta, apparently
We took the mantle.
yes. So, but is Atlanta
Even Mace left Harlem.
is it true that Atlanta is like the mecca of black excellence, or is it not true? Y'all got to tell me from your mouth, because I'm a Dallas, Texas guy. You know what I mean? And so, is Atlanta all it's cracked up to be in regards to the black excellence?
It is to me as a transplant. So I'm from Baltimore, and I've not seen this level of black entrepreneurship anywhere in the country. Atlanta leads in black home ownership anywhere else in the country. When you look at the underbelly of the Atlanta University Center and what that produced from Clark, Morehouse, Morris Brown, Spelman, it rivals second to none. Sometimes in Atlanta, I'll go in a restaurant, attorney, and see white people, and I'm in shock because I forget they live here. like, where y'all visiting from? Because really, Atlanta has taken the mantle of Harlem and D.C. This is the new chocolate city. Okay. And you're seeing people do well progressively. In Baltimore, where I'm from, either you had to be a hustler or an athlete to drive a Bentley, to live in a gated community. But now, how in the world are you living in this house? I'm selling girdles. I'm selling hair bundles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I mean, the latitude of wealth is not restricted, and it challenges W.E.B. Du Bois' talented 10th, that those who are doing well in Atlanta are not all formally trained, are not with a coat of shellac, as it were. You got to realize, I came here in 1989, and the draw for Atlanta at that time was HBCUs and the legacy of Dr. King. Okay. The draw for Atlanta now I yield to my attorney, is reality television and Tyler Perry. That shifts the whole taste of the city of what is the draw. So there is no line right now. If the four of us go to Barnes & Noble 4 blocks from where we're taping this, we can go in. If we go to Lenox, there's a line outside of Louis. Yeah, which said that the model is different, but the hustle is the same. So you got to respect the hustle. It was in the pandemic that I had to repent to the community that the church historically has only pushed one path to success, which was college. And that's wrong, because there's a whole lot of people who are making it with no degree. And I know the educator may...
No, that's fine.
But,
I agree with that.
Yeah, but I think that we got to have a balance of Booker T and W.E.B. Sure. That where is your trade? What is your skill set? It's plumbers making 150 grand. It's truck drivers making 100 grand. And there's Negroes who went to Morehouse with me who are temping at H&M, so you got to find what is the balance, and the value is not necessarily what is the letters behind your name. Muhammad Ali said, champions aren't made in the gym, they're made in your gut, of what is your purpose, what is your determination, and what are you really fighting for. And Atlanta proves that. That if you come here, everybody comes to Atlanta for witness protection. You know what I mean? So I couldn't be nothing at home. So I come to Atlanta and I'm a star. So Atlanta really is that incubator, go south, young man. And so I think that's really the spirit of the city.
Yeah. It's crazy because when I moved out here, I didn't know that was gonna be Atlanta. I didn't know what I was getting into. I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer, a sports lawyer. I wanted to be in a city that was in that space. So ordinarily, LA, go back home to New York, where I was from, but can't go back there, right? Too many distractions. Although I love my family, mom, no offense. So I decided and I landed on Atlanta. When I came here, I realized how much it wasn't like New York. It didn't have that crab in the barrel mentality. It was, growing up in the streets was different. And when you came here, you saw a lot of people that wanted to work with each other, build with each other, grow businesses with each other, and it, quite frankly, it infests the entire city of how much people want to see other black people win, and I think it's amazing, and you're right about the whole, you don't have to go to school. I was teaching at Booker T. Washington while I was in law school through the street law program. And I was telling a lot of the kids there now, because I represent a lot of these creatives, these content creators, these 18-year-olds that are running into millions of dollars, helping them protect that magic, protect that. Figure out what you love and what you do, make it a business and find out how it could be profitable. So if you love playing video games, let's create a video game, let's compete, let's figure out how, we can make money. Everyone doesn't have to go to college. Some things is a rite of passage. You have to go to law school to be a lawyer, go to med school to be a doctor. But here in Atlanta, you can create that, and those opportunities are endless, and people are here supporting each other, and that's why we're here today, right? I mean, literally, I support your brand. I love it, So, I love Atlanta. I don't see myself moving anywhere anytime soon. No. I have all my friends in New York moving here to Atlanta. I mean, a lot of people's moving here, so slow down a little bit. But
we full.
But yeah, man, Atlanta is the new Black Hollywood. Content creation, I mean, we're fully open right now despite COVID. I know, COVID compliance is here though, don't get it twisted. But, it's going to continue to be the mecca of everything that is grown, at everything that is Black excellence. So
yeah, for sure. I think I agree with everything that everyone said. And there's an organization here in Atlanta called Atlanta Influences Everything. And it's simple, it does. Atlanta influences everything. And you can even say, Black Atlanta influences everything. We are, the trendsetters here. When you think about the entertainment industry and music, you've got to be planted here in Atlanta to get the Atlanta support for your music, whatever to take off, right? When you think about the restaurant industry, there's so many different places that are opening up here. Black chefs and, restaurateurs are opening up here. The tech industry, right? This is a mini Silicon Valley here. The Black tech industry is moving here to Atlanta. So, when you talk about the influence that the city has and the impact that Black people are making, it's ridiculous.
Is it the people or is it the community? Right, let me ask you that question, right? Is it the people, just the type of people that are moving here are focused on expanding themselves, or is it the fact that you come here, of course you have competition, but like you said, it's not a crab in the barrel mentality here because everybody's trying to get it.
I think it's a combination of both in some sense. I don't know, maybe it's the lawyer in me. I'm being unfair, right? I'm in that gray area, right? I mean, I think the people are make up the community, right? Mm-hmm. So, and if the community is tainted, then the people within itself will tear itself down. So I think the people come here to a community that's already established. I think they have an ideology or vision of what they want to do, and just, I don't know, I think when you just find yourself in different areas and different spaces, that energy that is shared, they're just creating some dope, I can't curse on this, right? They're just creating some dope stuff, They're just creating some dope stuff and making it happen. So I think it's the community here in Atlanta. It's not perfect, to be honest with you. I don't think anywhere you go will be perfect. But I think the people here within this community literally want to see each other win. Yes, and because of that, I think people come here with that right mindset.
I think it's the spirit of the city, and you have to give some level of credit to Maynard Jackson, who was intentional about Black wealth creation. That Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport oversaw by a black man said it ain't gonna be built unless black contractors at the table. That he was intentional, can I make black millionaires? And it shifted the paradigm of black politics because historically a lot of them were just glad to be in office. We're just glad to be in position and cut the ribbon and be on page 17 of Jet. But Maynard was really intentional about creating a legacy of wealth. And I got to say, to his credit, that I've not seen a black mayor anywhere replicate at that standard. And so it is the culture that attracts the people. Yeah. So the community makes it as such that you got to do something. My dad said something to me a few months ago. He said, the pandemic is the best thing that can happen to a lazy man and to an industrious man. A lazy man will say, I can't do it because it's a pandemic. Mm-hmm. An industrious man will say, I can try it because it's a pandemic. And I think that that's what's happening. The reality is most of us we have done well in the pandemic. In spite of everything else that is taking place, is that you got to figure out how do you hustle. You know what I mean? So it's guys who are creating money by making masks. Right. You know what I mean? It's right. People who are making hand sanitizer. Right. And they're not selling it at the red light. No, really. So you got to figure out what is the solution I am creating to the problem. Yeah. And that's what it is that you find here. So when the pandemic hit, you saw a new underground culture of mobile barbers. Yep. The shop is closed, but I'm coming to you. Yeah. I mean, you saw a spike in online spending. Right. So black designers in Atlanta that couldn't get in Nordstrom's or Neiman's or Macy's says I'm online. Right. Yeah, I mean, for my field, it leveled the playing field that in the pandemic, while the church is virtual, there's no such thing as a mega church. If you online, then it's accessible. So what it is that we're doing on tonight is more than what churches historically would see. If the average black church in America is 50 people, and we got thousands on, you know what I mean? Right. So think in terms for my lane, what you do at the flash mob is bigger than what 90% of black churches see on Men's Day. And I can't get them in a suit. So you saying y'all just come walk down the steps. Yeah, it ain't no speaker. Yeah, I mean, we ain't selling chicken afterwards. Let's just change the model. So if a pastor is seeing that, then I'm saying, oh, black men do own suits. Mm-hmm. Black men will come outside. Mm-hmm. Black men will take a stand. Yeah. So what you do in black excellence challenges what I do to step up the level without competition. You know what I mean? So I think all of it works hand in glove as we move forward to understand the power of relationship and connectivity.
Absolutely. And like you said, the pandemic, I mean, honestly, this series, Dapper Conversations, it was something that we started prior to the pandemic, but it wasn't to what it is now, right? Yeah. Because when it happened, we had to force ourselves to pivot and say, okay, we missed the whole year of flash mobs, right? The whole year. Right. We did one, Charlotte in February 2020, yes. And we had 10 more planned for the year. That whole middle of the year was dead, right? And so then towards the end of the year, we picked up 3 more at the end of the year as things kind of leveled out a little bit. But for us, my guy Evan talks about this all the time. It's like how you pivot is how you prosper, right? How we are able to go into a situation like this and not be stuck, but figure out, okay, what can we do to adjust this? Bro, let's go online. Let's take it online. Let's take it from a thought that we were like, well, let's do it. And we're going to fill an auditorium. We got to fill an auditorium. You get valuable speakers that can sit across and next to each other, have the conversation there. That's going to be impactful to more people because we're going to stream it online through YouTube. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do we focus on that? But like you say, we hustlers. You know what I mean? like we're gonna figure out a way to be able to continue to relay what we're trying to do, continue to get our brand out there. Because if you're stagnant, unfortunately, you will die with the pandemic to an extent, right? Like your brands, it is funny because a lot of black brands have got successful during now, but a lot of non-black brands weren't as successful during this time frame, right? And I think it just naturally comes down to who we are as a people, right? We've been forced to, survival of the fittest in our own way, right? And so thinking about that and keeping that top of mind, I think is really a way that we've been able to generate a lot of revenue during this time for a lot of different industries. And it's like, our thing is the playing field level yet? Nah, not yet. No. We still got a ways to go to even think about leveling the playing field. But I think at least now we have more opportunity to leverage because we know we can make it through things, right? And it just reiterated it that we done made it through slavery, we done made it through Jim Crow, we done made it through civil rights era, we done made it through Trump, right? We can and we will continue to level ourselves up and find ways as it relates to who we are as a people. So I appreciate all you guys' thoughts on that. Now, one thing that I do want to bring up, right? We all have one thing in common, right? Now, I don't know, HBCU.
The best HBCU by far, Hampton University.
HBCU.
Georgia State, PWI.
PWI. I went to a PWI, right? But we all found our ways into these Black Greek letter organizations. Right. My brother, fellow Noop. Yes. Let me ask you, as a part of...
We got to address this statement the attorney just made about the school by the lake.
Okay. How has whether it was the process to become a member or whether it is your membership or whether it is those around you how has that inspired you or motivated you to do more for your community by becoming a part of one of these Black Greek letter organizations, specifically Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated?
Yes. I want to say I don't know if I knew the real value until I got older. To know the network, that I can come to Atlanta and find brothers that you're like, hey, you need to meet him, you need to be connected to him, that it wasn't about a satin jacket. No, really, really understanding achievement in every endeavor, and really living up to that really takes time. The focus before was GPA, graduating on time. Don't drop the cane. Now is don't lower the standard, and I think it really means something of value to have brotherhood. The reality is men are genetically engineered to belong. So if you're not in a Greek lettered organization, then I'm representing Def Jam. I'm representing Death Row. I'm representing the Crips. That we want to be connected to something and finding what is our connectedness. So, he obviously just connected to whatever he could get in. He just had he just wanted to be in something. It wasn't his first choice, but that's what he was able to do. So
we had to set the trend, the model for y'all to follow. Alpha Phi Alpha.
You know how many people don't want to take the first vaccine? There's too many side effects.
I'll let you come in, Kirk. Again, you being a part of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, what has that done for you? Again, in your development as a man, and I will agree with you too, Jamal. I don't think I knew the value until I became a grown up and really started tapping in. Like, oh, okay, it ain't about the party, it ain't about the women, it ain't about the shimmy. It's about the impact and the achievement and creating something that's bigger than me. And then also, like you said, holding myself to a higher standard, right? Because now I got this on my back too. I can't let them down as well. So for you, Kirk, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, we Brother Jamal mentioned earlier, Maynard Jackson, who, the legacy of Atlanta lives on, a good man of alpha. And, definitely inspires and sets the trends for what happens not only in the city and the country, but then also for me as an individual too, like being an alpha man and just knowing the individuals that have come before me and the legacy that I need to live up to and to make a difference in my community. So for me, it was seeing the excellence and knowing that, wow, these men have created, and really been game changers and trailblazers in every field, and so it was a no-brainer for me. And so now my responsibility is to continue to give back, continue to stay active, right? Serving on the board in my alumni chapter, being an advisor, letting them know that they can, achieve and succeed in whatever field that they would like to as well. And so alpha means, more to me. And it was something that I saw in gentlemen that I said, wow, I've got to do that, right? Men who, were in suits and running the yard on campus,
On your yard.
running the state, the cities everywhere, and so for me it was seeing that and knowing that I wanted to be a part of that so I can, carry the torch as well.
It was no brainer for me what I was gonna pledge. Shout out to all my noobs out there, Beta Chi chapter. In all seriousness though, I feel it's the same thing. I'm 28 years old now. I guess I've crossed in fall 11, so I guess I'm getting old. But yeah, I guess I'm getting pretty old. But for me, I didn't learn or really understood the value of the organization, until after college and understanding what duty I had. But at that time when I had pledged, it changed my life. It Cap Alpha Psi is a non-hazing fraternity, right? But being a part of a large organization and understanding that all those things that I learned in New York, the cockiness, the feeling like it was all self, that crab in the barrel mentality, it was the first time where I had to be a part of another organization and learn to love my brothers and to care for them, to put the organization or the mission first, before myself. It was very difficult getting to that point as I continued to get older, but that whole entire process, becoming a member of that organization, it was transitional to everything else that I do in life. With one day raising a family, with being a good son, with being a good brother, with being a good best friend, with being a colleague, just being a member of Fox Rothschild. It's something that's bigger than me. So I think it kind of like resonates and circles back to me being a transplant here in Atlanta, Georgia, and understanding that, well, it isn't about John Rose and me being the greatest entertainment attorney or whatever my personal accomplishments are. It's about, being that role model for those young black boys and black girls in Southside Jamaica, Queens, who didn't know what a lawyer looked like, right? And wanting them to be a part of this illustrious practice where we protect other people's magic, where we serve a community, and just be selfless in that. So. I'm happy I joined it. I wanted to join it, the first in my family to join an organization, so my kids, and my nephews and whomever can, strive for something and understand that this is available and that's out there for them. So, I wouldn't change it for the world. I appreciate the entire Divine Nine. To be quite frank with you, in college I was Kappa. All my alphas, I make so much money with my Qs, with my sisters, Ks, Deltas, you name it. It's just being a part of that and sharing that energy is amazing.
I love the focus of it, like you said, saluting to everybody. It's just about doing something bigger than yourself at the end of the day, right? And you brought up a great point though. I mean, as men, and it's interesting that you put it that way, that men are often trying to find a brotherhood, but at the same time we so alone, like we're loners, right? Because they tell you, men aren't supposed to cry on each other's shoulder, men aren't supposed to embrace each other. This is stigma, right? But then you become a part of something that's bigger than you, to where you say, because if you don't break down and join your brothers, that's going to be a long process for you, right? So you have to put yourself on the back burner, and then you become one of your thought process across your line, and that helps you. I thought the same way. That helped me develop as a man, to where I thought more of, I'm a baby child, right? My brother in here, he know I was a little spoiled, right? And at that point, it was often me. Because my parents, they're like, okay, you the youngest, we got to make sure. So I go into a lot of situations thinking about me first. Because they, it kind of had that. And so in that, it was like, nah, bruh. Because again, it's going to be some long nights if you don't put yourself not first, and focus on that. And I think, as I've developed, and again, launching a brand like Black Menswear, where it's not about me, it's about the impact, and it's about how we're stepping up in our community, and how we're, again, telling people that they can be whatever they want to be and achieving and all these different things. And so, having that, for me, having that type of being a part of that type of organization doesn't just stop there, right? It does become, how am I changing the world every single day, little by little? Because again, I've been able to be a part of something that, like you said, all the men that come before you, I gotta hold myself to that standard. I can't let all these brothers come and then here goes me. You know what I mean? I gotta be able to continue that.
It's about that collective impact, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the theme tonight has been about community, and that brotherhood is definitely an example of that. I love the quote that says, "You can go far alone, but you can go much further together," right? And so the more that we can collaborate together, like across the Divine Nine, like my brother said, and across the Black community, the more successful we will be. The better the culture is at the end of the day. So it's definitely about that collective impact.
I want to ask a question as it relates to what's holding us back as a people. Would you say that racial injustice or the income gap is our biggest hindrance as a community?
I would say income. Dr. King said that poverty is the bride of crime, that wherever you see crime, poverty is close by. And everything that we look at really speaks to an economic crisis that has to give some level of redress. But it also comes behind another alpha man, Roland Martin, said, what is the ask? What are we demanding? So in this $1 trillion deal that Biden is trying to pull through, are we really making demands that HBCUs are taking off life support? Are we, saying, why is this only available for those who make $70,000 and below, when people at $80,000 are struggling? How did we elect Biden-Harris promising us $2,000, and we already dropped down to $1,400, and no civil rights organization has said anything? No Black church denomination has called them to task. So I think that we've got to deal with the economic issue. Harry Belafonte just turned 94 last weekend. And he talks about a conversation he had with Dr. King, where Dr. King said to him, I'm afraid we've integrated the Negro into a burning house, that we fought for them to get to a lunch counter, but now they don't have money for a hamburger. That the next step after civil rights is civil rights. And I think that is our collective responsibility as Black men of excellence. How are we grooming the next generation not to get jobs, but to get careers, to have lives? People had to re-examine. When the pandemic hit in March, we thought we was off work for 2 weeks. At the least, we see you back Memorial Weekend. And then when people had to start living out of their savings, people had to open up their 401ks. People had to dip into their retirement. They're like, oh, this is real. To see people clamoring, if you can imagine, for $600. That at our church, every Saturday, we give out groceries. I started January of 20, we were giving out 300 groceries a month. Now we're giving out 8,000 a week. And these are people driving up in Audis, in BMWs, in Lexus. It is what Cornel West calls the working poor. That you can work 40 hours a week and still not have enough to take care of your family. And that's why Black organizations, Black Greek-lettered organizations, ought to be the loudest champions for raising the minimum wage. These are the conversations where we got to say 15 is the basement. Jeff Bezos became a billionaire. in the pandemic. Kanye became a billionaire. So people are making money. I mean, let's not sleep. Your fraternity brother, Raphael Warnock, just got elected in the Senate against a woman who owned the Atlanta Dream off Bitcoins. So it is money to get made. We just got to figure out a different kind of way, and clocking 9 to 5 is not it. So notice everybody who introduced themselves at the beginning introduced themselves by their primary job and their side hustle. Yeah, I mean, now 20 years, our parents would have been like, hey, I worked 20 years, they gave me this watch. We had a cake in the break room. These are side hustles I want to underscore for people who are listening, especially our young men who are listening. Side hustles from people who are educated. Side hustles from people who are professional. Side hustles from people who have a career and realize still that is not enough. There's got to be something else. But their side hustle here has some capitalistic, philanthropic overtone, that I'm making money while serving. That I'm making a living while changing somebody's life. And so I think that you've got to find what is that integer combination that allows us to be successful without having amnesia to what is our responsibility. That is not a conversation of how can I get a watch or how can I get these shoes, but everybody in different questions are saying, how can I make my family proud? How can I go back to the community that I was raised out of? Here are the young people that I'm trying to help and looking good. That you don't have to choose. You know, I'm making money moves. You got to do all of it at the same time. So I think that that's really the drive of what Black Menswear is about.
And let me ask you, John, so with the agency that you just launched, focusing on protecting creators, right? I'm going to assume your answer is going to be the wealth gap as well. Why did you start an agency to protect young men and women of color that are now coming into their own and not having somebody else take it, or even having somebody try to bring a terrible deal to the table and say, hey, you do this because us, and you gonna give me $10,000 for real? Knowing that they should be paying you 100, 150, but you don't know the difference, so you just taking anything that comes across your way.
You know, it was just about being innovative and filling that void that I believe, you know, me and my partners believed it was there. The income gap or the wealth gap, right, it's obviously race related, right? You know, what our grandparents, my grandparents were given or what was available to them, right? 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, what schools they were able to go to. I went to Emory Law School, but there was a point in time where, you know, people that looked like us couldn't go to Emory Law School. So we weren't able to be lawyers and educators where we were able to have a certain kind of wealth level to, you know, save and have something for our kids that came after us. So I definitely do believe it's the income gap, and it's about those resources and what's still available to us today. Our Black creatives, right, our diverse creatives, like, you know, you're a photographer, you're a videographer, your parents want to hear you want to be a lawyer. And I'm a lawyer, and I'm not making, you know, the most fantastic money, but if you tell your parents right now, you know, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a creative, I want to be a photographer, they don't believe that's going to be a profitable business. Well, as content continues to increase, right, the digestion or the consumption of it, we see that our creatives are making a lot of money, just quite frankly, and they're not being protected during that process, and more importantly, they're in the service practicing industry. You know, a photographer is hired to capture something, and that's great, and they're paid for that service, whether or not they own it, that's one thing, but what about them being able to create something on their own that can, you know, that they can monetize off of. Right. There was one point in time where people sat down with recording artists and said, I think you're dope enough, I like that music, I'm gonna give you $1 million to stop doing what you're doing. Whether it's selling drugs, whether it's working at Walmart, whatever have you, here's $1 million for you to focus on your craft. And here's another budget for you to be able to continue to build upon that craft. And there's a whole plan around us investing into your creativity so we can monetize off of that creativity from a 360 level. But a photographer and a videographer cannot do that, right? I can go into, you know, a bank right now and get a loan to start a business, but most, you know, creatives can't do that. And we see many of our kids these days are going more into the field of being more creative as opposed to going to the college or the master's or the doctoral route. So for me, it was evening the playing field. Being able to put these financial resources behind these creators and believing in their magic, like how these recording labels believed in these other artists or musicians. So now we're signing these young photographers, these young videographers, these young creatives, giving them monetary advances, giving them budgets to create, helping them protect their brand. And guess what? They own all of their content. So there's a lot of labels that own, and I understand the business, I'm a music attorney, but we want them to own their content and own their stuff at the same time still helping them build. So I love the space that we're in. I do think the income gap is the main issue, more money, more problems, but at the end of the day, more money, more opportunity. My mom still works 3 jobs, and I'm here with 3 jobs myself to this day. So, when it changes, who knows, but
it's the Jamaican in him. But I think that we got to go back to, as an asterisk, the spirit of Atlanta. Yeah. And John will be able to speak to it better, that you can't forget the trailblazer for creatives in that recording space was CeeLo Green, who said, I'm going to do this album. I don't have a label. I'm not representing any record company. Right. And the song went #1. Right. Following that model was Nelly X, who went and bought that. He bought that undercarriage for what, $400, and took it. So that creative space is also synonymous with independence. So I'm not waiting to be signed by Sony and Arista. So these artists have had to find innovation because they can't go on tour. Ain't no Summer Jams 21. Yeah. I mean, so you got to figure out, okay, how do I get people, Erykah Badu in the middle of the pandemic charged people $1 to watch her midnight concert, and 300,000 people bought it. Right. And she never left her living room. Right. Yeah, that changed the whole game, that I don't need to get an insurance agreement. Right. I don't need security. Right. I ain't got to fly to Atlanta. So I made $300,000 at home at midnight. Yeah. Right. With no backup dancers. Right. With no band. Right. Me and my banjo. Right. So I think that whole industrious notion is really the wealth creation of how it is that I find against all odds. And I think that's the power of black people, is knowing the resilience that you throw us in a pit and we'll build a trampoline, and find a way to bounce back. Right. Yeah, but I think it carries over to every field.
Hey, Kirk, so thinking about, again, because the fact that you are in leadership for a very, very well-known school, but then also being a founder of the Emerging 100, right? To where you have guys that, when you look at it from the school, that you are making sure that they are properly funded to be able to have access, right? Because even if our schools are bad, you're further perpetuating this wealth gap, right? They don't have the right books to understand and study in elementary and middle school. They haven't even got a fair shot to get through high school. Right? And so being a part of an organization like that, and then the excellence of the Emerging 100, right? That are young brothers that are thriving, right? And trying to maneuver themselves from one stage to another, and praising them and giving them that, but then also saying, y'all, look, we got to give back. We got to be able to do more within the community now that you are becoming into these different positions in stature. For you, man, how do you guys, or how do you help to shift that, like from an educational perspective, from a mindset? What's your thought around that with the income gap?
No, for sure. It's definitely the concept of building as you climb, right? So yes, we are, young professionals killing it in our different spaces, and we're moving up, but at the same time, we can't forget about the young ones that's coming behind us, right? Okay. And so we got to be intentional that as we climb, you're coming along with me. Let's go. I got a business meeting, throw on your suit. You don't got a suit? Great, let's get you one. Let's watch how we structure this deal, right? Showing them the possibilities that they can become, and so I think that's important for us with the Emerging 100, with all the organizations, just mentoring. I think that is a huge thing that we need to do, because we weren't given those resources growing up in our life. We didn't have those examples, and so now that we're getting access to that, like it is so incumbent upon us, like to make sure that we pull somebody along with us. And so for me, it's seeing my mentees, earn scholarships to colleges and go off and kill it, and then end up pledging Alpha because they were inspired by me, or other men that they were around. So it's things like that that continue to motivate me and inspire me because if you're going to succeed and not help anyone, what are you doing it for, right? Just to gloat and say I'm here? Nah, like let's continue to build the community and build a culture, and bring the young ones behind us. And so I think that's a way that we can continue to close the wealth gap, because if you don't know that you can make this kind of money on a contract or buy this kind of house or earn this kind of money from this job because you just weren't given access to it or exposed to it, then you're not going to know that you can aspire to become that. And so we close it by saying, hey, look, you see this check right here? This is how you get it. This is how you do it. Let's show them, and so that they can then aspire to be that.
I think it's crazy, like this moment right now and how things come so full circle, right? Like I've been in Atlanta for 6 years and I've only been to one church, and that was your church.
Wow.
And it's, I guess like many millennials, I often only find myself going to church when I did, when I was in my lowest moments and listening to you speak, right? And here we are, right? And then I just recently became a member of the Emerging 100 for everything you guys stand on as a recent inductee. So I just thank both of you, and then being this space, and for you creating this space, man. Things really do come full circle, man. Shit, I can't curse on here. This is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I love it, man. I love it. And again, you guys are here. We're on Dapper Conversations. We're here with Black Menswear. Everything you guys have said to this point has been inspiring, has been motivational, and I really, really believe has been something that somebody listening has allowed them to shift their mental their mental limits on themselves and really focus on being limitless, right? As you all are currently, in your roles and continue to develop forward, the last question I want to ask each of you is, what is your top priority right now, and what are you doing to achieve that? I'm gonna wait. You gonna come? I'm gonna finish with you. Kirk, can I open up with you on that question?
Sure. For me, I'm a new dad, so I got an 18-month-old Tatum. I mean, she's a year old now, so just me, and I've been married 4 years. This on the 23rd of March, right? So for me is building a legacy for my family and for my daughter. That's top priority for me, right? Working hard and busting my tail so that I can leave something that they can continue to build and invest in, in the legacy of our family. So, I work hard in the community, work hard at work hard on the side hustle, because that's a priority as well. But it's so that I can leave something for my family and for my daughter, so that they can build on, and that we're not having to start over. So for me, that's top priority, my family, and setting up Tatum and the kids that we have in the future, setting them up for success.
Love it.
Okay. I echo a lot of that. My top priority for the longest time was making my mom proud. But I think she's proud now, so we'll see. Quite frankly, she's proud with whatever I do, to be honest with you. So I often find myself now the top priority being filling in that sentence that I couldn't really say growing up. Like, I want to be a lawyer like this person when I grow up. My parents being Jamaican, they said you got to be a lawyer, a doctor, or the president. And I think a lot of West Indian families, tell their kids that. Well, at that time, I didn't think being a president was realistic, right? We didn't have Obama, so that was off the table, and I hated math. So for the longest, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I didn't really know what that looked like. And we know of Johnny Cochran, of course, Fine Newt, my brother. And he was in a space doing, criminal law for the cases, and the reason why we knew of what he was doing, and his law firm still doing great things. But I find myself being able to be in a space now because of the internet, because of how social media and exposure has allowed us to be visible to our young generation that's coming up, to being able to fill that sentence for those young Black boys and girls in my community and other communities around the nation. I want to be a lawyer like John Rose when I grow up. And knowing that this is attainable, that you can have the background that I've had. I grew up in the hood. I didn't always have the squeakiest record, right? I've been through a lot, and just because you've been through that doesn't mean that it's over. You can provide a valuable service to this world. You can still be cool, still be hip, but still be of Black excellence, right? Sure. And look how we look, and speak how we speak, and learn how to articulate yourself. So everybody wants to be rappers. That's lit. That's fire. I love that. Everybody wants to be athletes. I wanted to be a football player. I used sports to get a full scholarship to go to Hampton. That's how I was able to get out of the hood. But I think being lawyers is great, and seeing the hundreds of kids that reach out to me every month, it gives me chills, man. So that's my biggest priority, letting them know that this is possible, and that's that.
I love it. What about you, Jamal?
I think the burden I carry is trying to reintroduce and re-engage the Black church to the community. So many in this generation don't see the value of the church or the necessity of the church. It has lost in many ways its honor and its respectability. And so I think part of my responsibility is showing the church not from the real preachers of LA perspective, but but that is really community involved and engaged. That this is not Greenleaf. This is this is still Atlanta. So I think that's really what I feel is part of my assignment in the earth.
I love that. I love that. For those that ask, I'll ask myself that question so I can go. No, mine comes along the line of where you're at, Kirk, with this. I've got two sons, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, who are really now like, Daddy, you going to Atlanta for Black Menswear? Hey, when you get there, are you going to chill with Migos? I was like, maybe, I don't know. But the fact that
the key is not that they know the Migos. The key is at 6 they know where they live. That's serious.
That is, it is. And yes.
We can't run past that.
But making them proud, and my wife, who, on top of this, my job makes me travel as well. But her understanding is like, you going? Go kill it, babe. Mm-hmm. Making her proud enough to say, all right, you could take another weekend away from the house and I would stay with these boys. Right. But she knows that I'm building something that I'm able to go and establish a corporation and give my sons and my wife ownership.
That's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's like for that, that's for me, like really establishing that legacy to where if something happens to me today, I'm 32, but they're going to be taken care of. Let's go. Even now, right? And so being able to do that, because if I take care of home and I make sure that they're taken care of, me going out and trying to change the world it's that much easier because they're top of my mind, right? I'm like, I got to make sure my sons, not only do they see daddy, because you got that thing where it's like when you're a father and your sons, they look up to you to a certain point, but then when there are other distractions out there, they're gonna kind of go to that, like, oh, my dad's just my dad, I'm gonna go do this, right? But if I can show them a platform where it's 100, 1,000 Black men doing what daddy does, just like that, it helps to really perpetuate what we're trying to do and show them, it's not just your daddy. Right. It's a lot more that are like him, to where this story that we're trying to create, not trying to create, the story that we are writing with Black Menswear, the story that we're creating means much more to me and my heart, because I'm trying to make sure that my children, my boys see that and they know this is the real and not just something that daddy's putting on. So for me, that comes back to making sure that I'm providing for them in a way that establishes, one, that we don't have to worry about this income gap, because we're going to get to it, but then also, two, making sure that they understand this is what Black men really look like.
And they have to know at 5 and 6 that they can always see that at Morehouse, not necessarily at Hampton, but at Morehouse on any given day, you'd be able to see Black men in suits. Yes.
Always got to come with the jabs.
Again, we're here at Dapper Conversations. I've loved this, from Dr. Jamal to my guy John Rose to Kirk Brown. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Again, I'm your host, NeAndre Broussard, CEO of Black Menswear. Appreciate you guys tuning in. You talked about the flash mob in Atlanta. We got the flash mob coming tomorrow, so make sure you check out the content for that. Oh, and by the way, today's episode was hosted by, or sponsored by, Black Menswear and BM & Co. Menswear. Shout out Black Menswear on our newly launched suit line.
Let's go.
Check that out as well. Yes,
Let's
yes.
go.
But again, appreciate y'all dealing with here. Oh, we gonna talk as soon as we cut this film. We gonna talk. But no, I appreciate everybody tuning in with us today. Hope you found some value in it. And check us out next month. We're gonna be in Houston, Texas. Tune in.
Peace.